I want to speak about the term peaceful coexistence, in particular between Christians and Muslims. Many of us may not have thought about this term very much because in our past we haven't lived in countries where it's necessary, and therefore we haven't developed these skills of peaceful coexistence, and sometimes we don't even know what these skills are. We also sometimes think that this is an almost heretical notion, an antichrist type of doctrine. But I'm not speaking of this in any way to deny or demean the divinity of Christ, the claims of Christ, or the gospel, or our Great Commission among other people and other faiths. But we're having a look at the teachings of Jesus about our living amongst our neighbours and how that we shine his light amongst them, and what it means to be a follower of Jesus in this type of society. Now, over recent years, we have been ministering and living in the north of Nigeria. In fact, we've really been doing this for the last 26 years, but more so in the last 8 years. And we've often been in situations where there's been attacks against Christians, and right where we're living, houses burned down across the road from where we sleep at night. Hundreds of people being killed on our own streets where we're ministering the gospel and training pastors. And that meant many times our lives have been in danger on a daily basis. And when we have been involved in these types of situations, we have seen Christian communities and Islamic communities draw up the bridge between them, isolating themselves and having no communication or connection between them at all. And when this happens, fear really increases. And we find that this fear becomes a very dangerous scenario, and people begin to act on rumours. Escalation begins to occur. And we find that even many people called Christians begin to kill and to take matters in their own hands based on this fear. And the idea is do unto others before they do unto you. And this happens a lot. And so when we have seen this, we have thought, well, what we need to do here as followers of Christ is to reach out to the Islamic community and to show them love and to build bridges and to try to help them as concerned people. In our communities where we are, they have real needs. The youth there don't have any jobs, they don't have any education. And we find that many people don't care about them. Oftentimes politicians don't care about them. Even politicians can be divided upon ethnic or religious basis. And so these people can become very isolated and have no hope. Some people have said that we're talking about this because we're intimidated by Islamic persecution. And that's not the case at all. We don't fear death. And the people I work with, preach the gospel with, we preach the gospel boldly on television and on radio every week that goes out to the whole of millions of Islamic people. We preach the gospel in Islamic towns, and we care for converts, smuggling them out and caring for them in safe houses where no one knows where they are. We're planting churches in all of these areas. These churches are sometimes burnt down. We rebuild them and continue preaching them and pastoring in these regions with death threats. So we know what the dangers are, and we're not at all intimidated by them. But the reason we're teaching this is because we're thinking about how can we really live as Christians and follow Christ and do what he taught us and love all people, and in this way be a real witness, and in this way draw many more Muslims to Jesus, live among them and show them. How can we show them the light of Christ when we've drawn up the bridge between us and become isolated? So we find that the real need in nations like Nigeria, and this is a global issue today, is not to overcome Islam in a type of Christendom, empire type of battle against them like we've seen it in the past. Jesus didn't teach the art of overcoming, but he taught the art of being a light among people. Not overcoming in a civil sort of a way. Overcoming in faith, in love, yes, he taught that. And so these are the types of skills we need to learn. How do we reach out to Muslims and go to their mosque and show them love and treat them as civil partners in society? Some people say, well, you can't do that with Islam because of their agendas and their goals to overrun the world. And I'm not denying that at all. There's no doubt that many have these goals, and these are articulated many times in Islamic teachings, and I know the basis of these very well. But we don't analyse Islam so much as to determine our response to these things. We look at Jesus. He's the one that we will learn our response from, and he's the one that we follow. And so we are looking at him. What did he teach, and how can we implement his teachings in the way that we respond to this situation domestically or globally today? So this is our call as Christians, and as we learn this, we're going to be a much better light among these people and reflect Jesus. Now, we see in Nigeria many times that the southern churches, where Christianity is more prominent, often don't care about the Muslims in the north, don't care about the churches in the north. And they're preaching a type of selfish prosperity gospel, many times learned from the West, and are not integrating into these areas to try to help. And so we really need a gospel that's not about ourselves and about defending ourselves and our interests in our lives, but a gospel that is about how to love others and build bridges to them and shine the light to them. This is the type of church that we need to be today. And rather than making fear our new faith, which is what we've done in the past, the things that we fear, we analyse, we teach, we preach, and that becomes what we believe, and we act on our fears instead of acting on the teachings of Jesus. So let's act on the teachings of Jesus, and let's bring the gospel to millions of people with respect. Let's not disrespect the faith of others. Not all Muslims follow the violent aspects of their teaching. And Paul said in Corinthians, he's talking about Christians, but he said, don't tread on the faith of other people. So if there's any light at all, Jesus didn't pinch it out with his fingers. If there's any light of faith in somebody, let's respect it, let's nurture that, and let's point that to Jesus by showing Jesus in our lives and reaching millions of Muslims with the gospel of Jesus Christ, his death and resurrection, and his lordship.